special thin film diffraction grating. This diffraction grating has parallel lines very close to each other. In 1 millimeter there are 1000 lines. We call it 1000 lines per millimeter, or you can say 25,000 lines per inch. In 1 inch there are 25,000 lines. And such a thin film, if we hold in front of a tube light, you can see that the tube light is shining, and on the sides we are getting beautiful color bands. Actually, mercury is element, so it should give lines spectrum. We are getting the first order color spectrum, line spectrum on both sides. See the symmetry and see the brightness of the color lines. Okay, we are getting symmetrical pattern, first order diffraction grating pattern. Beautiful color lines are seen. Mercury being an element and bright light source using a tube light and slit. Here we are getting first order as well as second order. Observe that in first order the lines are very near each other, while in second they are well spread. In first order the intensity is large, while in second order the intensity is very small. It is obvious that as we have higher order we get less and less intensity. Here third order is not visible at all. Even if we make oblique incidence, third order goes to the very wide angle. This is a simple pendulum having a thread and heavy metal round cylindrical. You can see the time period of oscillation depends upon length. If it is short length, it is very small time period. If it is long length, it is more time. If it is very long length, you can see that large time period comes. As the length increases, time period also increases. This is not ordinary pendulum. It is a magnetic pendulum. It has got a very strong magnet, neodymium magnet. And this magnet has no attraction for copper because copper is diamagnetic. But here you can see a magic-like behavior shown by copper, and this magnetic pendulum, I am going to make the swing in special way. Observe the motion of copper plate. It is surprising that the copper plate is going round with magnet. Actually, scientific reason behind it, this is diamagnetic, and when a magnet moves over this copper plate, it induces eddy currents, and those eddy currents will have magnetic field generation, and that field will try to stop the motion of magnet. So the copper plate will always try to oppose the motion of magnet, and in opposing this motion, the copper plate is set into a spinning motion. Very interesting demo. It is a diamagnetic. Now if we replace this and make a paramagnetic like this aluminum slab, and if I adjust the length of the pendulum so that we are getting almost touching but not exactly touching, almost touching, that much length we have to adjust, and here we are getting that length fit properly. And now you can see that this aluminum slab and this magnet has no attraction. It is paramagnetic, but we can say that if I set the pendulum in motion, I am getting very free oscillations. But if I keep the slab here and leave the pendulum, suddenly it stops. Now question is, it is not touching, but it is stopping. The reason is again the eddy currents and opposition to the motion of magnet. Here is one wonderful demo experiment. I am having a cylinder, a coil having large number of turns, 3000 turns, and a pair of wires going to array of LED, 4 LED. They are connected back to back, anode cathode parallel. Now I can show you a magic like flash here. I can shake this and I can generate flash. So by shaking this I can generate flash. It is nothing but Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. When I make this fast movement, I am getting current generated, and that gives a flash in LED, and that is E is equal to minus d phi by dt, rate of change of magnetic flux with respect to time. But for that you require a strong magnet inside this coil. I am having a very strong magnet kept inside this cylinder, and it is floating in air. In the cylinder it is floating in air. Now you may ask how you can keep the magnet floating. Very simple. At the bottom I am having one more magnet, powerful neodymium magnet also, and there is repulsion, and one more magnet on the top, and there is repulsion. So we can say south south, north north, like poles are facing, and I can prove that one magnet is here, one magnet is here, and one magnet is in the center of the coil. So I can say that the two magnets are holding the middle magnet in suspension. It is like a spring up and down, and here when I make this up and down I get flash, but if I make a slow motion, now you are not getting flash at all. Now question is, why there is no flash in slow motion? The answer is very simple. Answer is, when I make slow motion, magnet 1, 2, 3 and coil all are going at the same speed up and down. They are going at the same speed up and down because the inner magnet is kept compressed by this and this magnet by repulsion, and there is no relative motion between inner magnet and coil. And if there is no relative motion, there is no current generation. There is no change of flux, rate of change of flux. So no current, no EMF, and no flash. But high speed motion, there is flash. Okay, thank you. Yes, here is a magic bulb. When I touch these 2 points, you see the bulb is on. Actually, how it works, it is very simple. When I touch these 2 points, some current goes through my finger. That current may be some microamperes, a few microamperes, or a few tens of microamperes. But this current is amplified by very large amount using a Darlington pair of 2 NPN silicon junction transistors. So 2 NPN silicon junction transistors, if they have gain of 100 and 200, overall gain is 100 into 200, that is 20,000. Such a high gain can make the current from microampere to several amperes also. I can show you what is inside this bulb. It is my own assembly creation. You have 2 wires, 1 circuit, 1 battery. It is 3 mobile cells, lithium ion, small 3.7 volt battery, and I am having a circuit in small compact form and LED panel affixed on the top, and if I put it back and I touch, I get conductivity. Now I can touch by right and left hand, I get conductivity. I can touch here, I get conductivity. My forehead also is conducting. Now I can touch here, yes, it conducts. But you can observe that at some places it is somewhat less because ohmic resistance is more. Now many students ask me the question that what is the relation between this right and left hand, or what is the relation between the 2 tips when I touch one finger, or when I touch forehead, what is the ohmic resistance? And this question is very difficult to answer because you can't measure ohmic resistance by multimeter in skin by skin touching. There is a problem with contact and connectivity. But I have invented one method, very simple method, to guess how much is the body conductivity, body resistance. I can show you innovation. I am having a holder. Now I have a bulb fit into the holder, and if I touch the two by hand, my bulb is glowing. It is very simple holder, and I can touch to my forehead, so it glows. And if I touch by one finger, so it glows. And if I dip into the water and I have both ends in water, that also will glow. It glows, yes. Now question is how to measure the resistance between these two. I have developed a method using this lux meter. This lux meter measures the light intensity, and this lux meter has a sensor here, that is LDR like sensor, and it has cover, and when I remove this sensor cover, my sensor is ready for measuring the light intensity. Now I have made one very simple setup for measurement of intensity at different places and different locations. Now here you can see that I am putting a slot cover, and by putting this cover I am covering this entire side, and I can make the background also minimum using this box covering. So I am covering using this box also. Fine. I will show you once again. This is the plastic bottle cut, and this is the cover, and I am putting this. Now to cover this transparent, I covered this also. Now I will put this on the top. Now my sensor will get light only from this bulb, because I cut all the surrounding from light. And if I touch this, you can see the glowing. I can see the light. Now if I am able to read this, yes, I can read the current here. I can read the lux here. Now how much is the intensity of light? I can take the reading, and this reading will give me measurement of intensity of light in lux. And I have taken several readings by connecting a resistance. You can see the plenty of resistances are there, and I can connect a resistance between this and this point. That is, I get some current, I get some light, I get some reading, and I can change the range also if I want. Yes, I can change the range, and I can take this reading here also, different R. I can take 1K, 10K, 100K, 1 meg, 10 meg, so many ohmic values. I got a big collection, and every resistance different step by step. If I take the readings for lux, I am able to calibrate my lux meter reading with my resistance, and using that calibration graph, which is a falling graph, common sense, when R will increase, the lux will fall, lux will decrease, intensity of light will decrease. So when I put some mega ohm resistance, I get very less light intensity, and if I put some kilo ohm resistance, I get large intensity, and if I make a short circuit, I get the brightest light. So it is common sense. I am getting this full intensity when short circuit is there, and if I make 1 meg, 10 meg, I get very less. And in a way, I am able to plot the graph and calibrate the whole curve, and this graph is somewhat like this. Okay, you can get the graph, you can get the judgment of the graph, and on this graph, I will now touch by two hands. I will get some reading. I touch by one finger, I get some reading. I touch by my two tips to my forehead, I get some reading, and those readings I will check on the graph will correspond to which R value. Very nice way of guessing the conducting path, resistance, and this gives a joy to learn. And I will tell you some interesting finding. When I short circuit, it is 0 ohm. When I put it in water, it is about 10 kilo ohm. When I put on my forehead, it gives me about 80 kilo ohm. When I have the wet hands, water and wet hands, I get about 100 kilo ohm. If I put two hands press, I get 300 kilo. If I put two hands with loose contact, I get 500 kilo. See, press different and loose contact different because conductivity changes with touch. Very interesting. And finally, if I use single finger, I get about 800 kilo because single finger has got high resistance there. So this is one innovative way of measuring unknown resistance using a lux meter. It is intensity measurement, and that's all. Thank you. This is a glass prism using glass plates which we are using in compound microscope for slides, and I have a screen here, very ordinary white bakelite, and I have got a laser pointer here. You can see that it is having a green spot, but if I make this green beam pass through this pink color solution, I get beautiful golden yellow track, and it is surprising what is the change of color. Why there is change of color? Because when we teach college students that when a ray of light goes from one medium to other medium, its velocity changes, its wavelength changes, but its frequency does not change. Frequency remains constant, and its color also does not change. But here we are observing that there is change of color, and that is because of the fluorescence. It is a property by which the medium is emitting some different color wavelength, color light. Here, when I make this horizontal, I see the beam go down and down. That is because of double bending by refraction. But if I make this beam to come angle, you can see this is horizontal, and again it is going down. And then this incoming ray and outgoing ray, they are symmetrical to the prism. This is horizontal. We say angle of minimum deviation is achieved, and we can calculate the refractive index of the medium using that delta M. Now you can see one more thing, very interesting. The beam is going back into the same medium. It is because of total internal reflection. Now when a beam passes through the medium, the photons can interact with the molecules, and the molecules will have inelastic collision with photons, and this is called as Raman effect. When the photons collide with orbital electrons, we say Compton effect, and when the photons collide with the tiny particles, very small size particles in the medium, we say Rayleigh scattering, and when the photons have inelastic collision with molecules of the medium, we say it is Raman effect. In the Raman effect, we can get Stokes lines and anti-Stokes lines in the spectrum. Stokes lines have lower frequency, while the anti-Stokes lines have higher frequency. Anti-Stokes lines are very less intensity, very dim. We can observe only in very special instruments and darkroom, and it is very difficult to make measurements in daylight. But remember that it is property of that medium, say organic compound or some other liquid or solution or some solid state material, but Raman effect is very important. Start. Here is a very special experiment. You can see a ray of light is going from water to air, a green laser appearing yellowish here and again green here. I will explain you this phenomenon called as fluorescence. Now this fluorescence is giving a track, very special track, and if I change this angle, when the ray comes perpendicular, it goes perpendicular, no change of direction. But if I change this angle from 0 to 10 or 20 or 30, we can observe that this angle is 30, and at the same time I am getting this angle almost 44. So 44 degree and 30 degree. Now this is small, this is large because of refraction. when a ray of light goes from water to air, it bends away from normal, it will deviate away from normal, and this angle is large and this angle is small because denser medium, rarer medium. Now, if I make this angle 40, I get this almost 60, and here if I go on increasing this angle, this will go on increasing very fast, and within a few degrees here I get this almost 90, and that is called as grazing angle, and the ray will go almost parallel to the interface, and this angle at that time is called as critical angle, for which this R is 90 degree. So I can say this is critical, and that is almost 48.5 or something. Now if I go beyond critical, you can see that the ray is completely coming back to the water, and that is called as total internal reflection. And this total internal reflection obeys the laws of reflection. For example, this angle I is equal to angle R, and incoming ray, outgoing ray, normal, they are in one plane. Very simple physics behind it. So this total internal is very useful phenomenon for optical fibers and many other applications. Anyway, I can take other way around readings. I can go from air to water, but now this will be large and this will be small. I can take various readings here and readings here. I, R, I can find sin I, sin R, and take the ratio sin I upon sin R. I will find that ratio remains constant. It is called as Snell's law. I can verify Snell's law measuring angle. The beauty of the apparatus is that I can take very fine readings in degree. Here we can see one more phenomenon, and it is reflection. This is partial reflection because some ray comes, some energy comes here, some energy comes here. It is called a division of amplitude or division of intensity or division of energy, and we can get this reflection more and more bright when this angle becomes large. You can see this, you can see the brightness is more here. At this angle, when it goes to 90, we get very bright. Very interesting phenomenon, dependence on the angle of incidence. Now this apparatus is my own design, idea, fabrication, carpentry, assembly, everything at my home, in my workshop, in my lab, and I give a name also. The name is Tyroscope. TIROSCOP. TIR stands for total internal reflection, and O stands for observation. So I can observe TIR. That is why it is Tyroscope. It is my own creation, my contribution to physics. Thank you.